Thank you for joining me on another episode of Cooking with the Blind Guy. My name is David. I'm 100% blind 100% of the time. Today we're going to be doing a recipe of ultimate meatloaf. Now what you're going to need is you're going to need a mixing bowl. You're going to need a meatloaf pan, which I've got one of the fancy ones that has the insert so you don't have to deal with the grease in your meatloaf. You're going to need 2 pounds of ground beef. You're going to need 1 box of stovetop cornbread stuffing, 1 cup of milk, 1 packet of McCormick meatloaf seasoning. You're going to need 2 eggs, 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. You're going to need some Worcestershire sauce, 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce, and 3 tablespoons of A1 steak sauce. Now, what you're going to do first is you're gonna open your stuffing and you're gonna put it in your mixing bowl. Okay, you're gonna take your 1 cup of milk and pour that over the stuffing. All right, and go ahead and get that mixed up and let that soak in. All right. While you're letting that soak, go ahead and move to your onion. Okay. You're gonna want to do the bridge method, which is holding your hand in the letter of a C and put it on both sides of your onion. Chop it right down the middle. You're gonna set half aside. You're gonna take the other half and do the same bridge method along the grain, and you're gonna make slices in it. I lost a couple of my slices, but that's okay. We'll just line them back up. Okay, and then you're gonna wanna easily dice them. Now I'm using a real knife, but in previous videos I've told you if you don't like working with metal knives, you can go on Amazon for about $12. You can buy a set of nylon knives, which will not cut skin, but they will cut everything else, from a steak to a potato. Okay, so let's get that all diced up. And yes, I know I make this look easy, but trust me, before every video, I sit there and do about 20 to 25 practices about where my ingredients are, and I stage my countertop to make sure I know where everything is in order to get it right. All right, so that's half of the onion, and go ahead and add that to the bowl with your soaking stovetop stuffing, while you take the other half and get it all diced up. All right. All right. Let's go. That feels just about good and diced. All right, so let's add that to our bowl. All right. And whenever you're setting a real metal knife down in your working area, please make sure you take the blade side and set it down away from you. So that way when you have to try to feel with your fingertips to find it again, there's no chance of you hitting the sharp bladed end, okay? So now at this point, oops, dropped a glove. My floors are clean, or else I would have grabbed a different glove. All right. And the reason I'm wearing gloves is because in order to get this all mixed together, it just makes it a lot easier doing it this way instead of getting ground beef under your fingernails. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open our seasoning packet and go ahead and dust that into our mixing bowl. All right, then you're gonna take your eggs, crack those in there, and that's 2. All right, now you're gonna get your ground beef. I prefer the tube version. 80-20 is probably the best. You're gonna clip off the end or just open the package if you're using regular ground beef. Forgive me, my nose is itching. And you're gonna sit there and squeeze that into your mixing bowl. All right. There's 1 pound. All right. And there is the 2nd pound. Now at this point, you're gonna wanna preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So that's going ahead and preheating. So let me do that real quick. All right. And by the way I was able to so quickly set my oven is because I have bump dot locators, which you can find on Amazon or even get from your local Lighthouse for the Blind vision loss centers. And you can use those to mark your microwaves, your stoves, your washer, your dryer, all kinds of things. They are great. All right, now that we've added our meat, we're gonna sit there and add about 3 shakes, maybe 4 shakes of Worcestershire sauce. I went ahead and did 4 just because I love the flavor. All right, so now we're gonna sit there and try to get all this good mixed up. Even now it's already smelling good. Okay. Give it a good second to make sure all those onions and seasonings get all the way through and get nice and well mixed with that cornbread stovetop stuffing. Now once you feel, and you can kind of feel with every time you take your hands and grip into the meat, you can feel your fingers coming across all those chunks of onions, and that'll pretty much give you an idea that you've got it pretty well mixed together. At this point, we're gonna add our 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar and get that mixed in there. All right, while I'm mixing this, the glaze for this, you're gonna wanna do 1/4 cup of your choice of barbecue sauce, and you're gonna need 3 tablespoons of A1, and you're gonna mix that together. Again, you bake this at 350 degrees for an hour. Once that timer goes off for the hour, you pull it out, you take your glaze, you brush it on there, and you put it back in for an additional 15 minutes. All right, well, I think this is pretty well mixed up. Now you're gonna wanna use some Pam nonstick cooking spray on your meatloaf pan. And while it's in the bowl, you wanna try and go ahead and shape it up to a nice loaf size for transfer into the pan. I think I've got mine pretty well done. Right there, and then right into the pan. All right. So again, this bakes at 350 degrees for an hour. Then you pull it out, put on your glaze, and put it back in for an additional 15 minutes. Thank you guys for joining me. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.